Life's design is never random. Prosperity appears by divine order, not by accident. To awaken to this truth is to step into a new vision of existence, where every event, every meeting, every setback, and every blessing is recognized as part of a perfect orchestration that guides you toward abundance. Many live under the illusion that life is scattered, chaotic, or ruled by luck. But the awakened soul knows that the universe operates by law, not by chance. What you hold within your consciousness shapes the path beneath your feet, and what you consistently affirm with conviction materializes in the world around you. Think for a moment of the journey you have walked. Look at the moments when you felt defeated, when opportunities seemed too close before you, when resources looked scarce. At that time, perhaps it seemed as though life was unfair or unkind. Yet, looking back, you can see that those very moments were the stepping stones, the lessons, the invisible preparation for where you now stand. Nothing was wasted. Not a tear, not a delay, not a rejection. Each was divinely positioned, a piece of the pattern that now unfolds into prosperity. The human mind often calls events coincidences, but there are no coincidences in the higher order of life. The hand of divine intelligence arranges every detail with precision. When you cross paths with someone who becomes a blessing in your life, it is not by accident. When you lose something only to gain something greater later, it is not random chance. When you feel delayed only to arrive at the right time, in the right place with the right people, it is not misfortune but divine timing. Prosperity flows when you finally understand that you are not abandoned to chance. You are guided by a power greater than yourself. Abundance is not scattered randomly among people. It is drawn to those who align with its frequency. That frequency is set by your thoughts, your words, and your unwavering belief. If you believe that wealth is scarce, you block the flow. If you declare that wealth is your natural inheritance, you open the gates. The law responds not to your wishes, but to your knowing. When you declare with authority that you are prospered by divine order, life rearranges itself to match that declaration. Circumstances shift, people appear, opportunities unfold, and doors open where once there were walls. It is not toil alone that brings prosperity, for toil without faith leads only to exhaustion. It is not luck that makes some prosper, for luck is but a human word for divine timing. Prosperity is birthed when your inner conviction meets the outer world. The universe mirrors what you hold within. When you are convinced of disorder, your life seems disordered. When you are convinced of divine order, your life begins to flow with harmony, rhythm, and provision. The outer world is the reflection of the inner world, and prosperity is the echo of belief. This truth becomes especially clear when you recognize the subtle guidance you have always received. How many times have you felt an inner nudge, a quiet voice, a sudden thought that led you into the right decision? That inner compass is not random. It is the whisper of the divine aligning you with abundance. When you listen and follow, you are carried into green pastures. When you ignore or resist, you often meet delay or difficulty, not as punishment, but as a reminder to return to the path of alignment. Prosperity comes not by forcing but by flowing, not by chasing but by allowing, not by demanding but by commanding with faith. When you see this message, you must recognize that you are not here by mistake. You are not reading these words because of idle curiosity. You are here because divine order has drawn you to the right word at the right time to confirm what your spirit already knows. You are ready to receive. You are ready to release the old patterns of doubt, fear, and struggle. You are ready to stop believing that life is against you and begin affirming that life is for you. You are ready to understand that prosperity is not withheld. It has always been waiting for your alignment. The world around you is full of evidence of order. The sun rises and sets with precision. The tides flow in rhythm with the moon. The seasons change in perfect sequence. Not one star falls from the sky without divine awareness. If creation itself is governed by order, why would your life be the only exception? You are part of that same creation, and you are governed by the same law. The prosperity you seek is not an afterthought but part of the design. It is embedded in your journey, coded into your destiny, and released when you come into agreement with divine order. Imagine walking into a room where every piece of furniture, every detail, every decoration has been carefully arranged for your comfort. You do not have to move things around frantically to make them fit. You simply trust the arrangement and rest in it. That is how divine order works. Life has been carefully arranged for you. The blessings you need, the opportunities you seek, the connections that will lift you, they are already positioned. Your role is not to rearrange the universe but to align with its arrangement. When you trust this order, you step into peace, and prosperity begins to flow without strain. The test of prosperity is often trust. Do you trust when you cannot see? Do you hold firm when the evidence looks opposite to your desire? Do you declare abundance when your bank account says otherwise? These are not punishments but opportunities to anchor your faith in the unseen. For prosperity does not appear because you see it first. It appears because you know it exists before it manifests. Divine order is like a seed hidden in the soil. You cannot see it at first, but you trust that in time it will break through the ground and bear fruit. Many fail the test because they give in to fear. They let appearances dictate their belief. They look at lack and declare lack. They look at delay and declare defeat. But those who prosper are those who see beyond appearances, who declare the truth of divine order even when circumstances whisper the opposite. They understand that appearances are temporary, but the law is eternal. By holding to the law, they outlast the storm and inherit the blessing. If you would truly prosper, anchor your life in this truth. Nothing in your journey is wasted. Every step, even the missteps, have been used by divine order to bring you here. The doors that closed protected you. The delays preserved you. The disappointments redirected you. All was ordered, all was purposeful, all was leading you into prosperity. When you know this, you stop resenting the past and begin blessing it. You stop fearing the future and begin trusting it. You live in the certainty that the universe is conspiring for your good. Prosperity is not something you chase, it is something you allow. You allow it by removing resistance. Resistance in the form of doubt, fear, worry, and self-limiting beliefs. Imagine a river flowing through a valley. The river does not struggle, it simply follows its course. But if rocks and debris block its path, the flow slows down. Your doubts are those rocks, your fears are the debris. Divine order is the current, and when you clear the resistance, the current carries abundance straight to you. You may say, "But I have worked so hard, and I still do not see the harvest." Understand this: no effort aligned with faith is wasted. Seeds planted do not sprout the moment they touch the soil. Some take days, some weeks, some years, depending on the fruit they carry. But every seed of faith produces, and when it is aligned with divine order, the harvest will come in its appointed season. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. You are not waiting for prosperity to exist. Prosperity is waiting for you to be ready to receive it without fear, without doubt, and without sabotage. This is why you see this message now. The timing is not random. You are ready. The soil of your spirit has been prepared by the trials, the waiting, the stretching, the lessons. The seed of faith has been watered by your persistence. Now the harvest begins. You are entering into the rhythm of divine order, where prosperity is not an occasional visitor, but a constant companion. Life's design is never random. That truth must live in your heart as a steady flame. Each day, rise and declare, "I am prospered by divine order. Everything I need is already arranged. I walk in abundance by law, not by chance." Speak it with conviction, not as a wish but as a command. For your words are the keys that unlock the invisible gates of provision. Speak them in faith, and watch as circumstances bend to match your declaration. No matter where you stand today, abundance is already on its way. No matter how impossible it looks, divine order is working behind the scenes. No matter how much time has passed, the appointed time is drawing near. You cannot miss what is ordered for you. You cannot lose what has been assigned to you. Prosperity belongs to you by divine decree, and when you know this, nothing can stop it from manifesting. So walk forward boldly. Release the idea of accidents, coincidences, or luck. Replace them with certainty, order, and law. Prosperity appears not by accident but by alignment. You have aligned, you have trusted, you have declared, and now the manifestation begins. Life's design is never random, and you are stepping into the chapter where every detail aligns for your prosperity. Every trial is a disguised prosperity test meant to refine faith and character. Many people look at challenges as punishments, setbacks, or evidence that life has turned against them. Yet in truth, every difficulty you have ever faced was an examination of your spirit, an opportunity to rise above appearances and claim what belongs to you by divine right. Prosperity does not come merely through effort, calculation, or striving. Prosperity is released when the soul proves itself steady in the storm. The trial is not there to break you, but to shape you, to sharpen your inner knowing, and to remove the impurities of fear and doubt that keep abundance at a distance. Think back on the hardest seasons of your life. At the time, they may have seemed unbearable, unfair, even cruel. You may have asked, "Why me? Why now?" You may have wondered if the heavens were silent or if the universe had forgotten you. Yet the truth is that those very moments were sacred classrooms. Each test disguised as lack, delay, rejection, or loss was not punishment, but a polishing stone. Just as fire purifies gold and pressure refines diamonds, trials are the alchemy that prepares the soul for prosperity. Without them, you would not be able to carry the wealth that is destined for you. Consider this: if prosperity were handed to you without refinement, without trial, without preparation, it would slip through your hands like water. The untested soul squanders blessings. The untrained spirit does not recognize opportunity. The undisciplined heart clings to fear, and fear always repels abundance. But when trials come and you stand firm, when storms rage and you remain anchored in faith, you become the vessel worthy of carrying the overflow. You show the universe that you can be trusted with increase because your character has been refined by fire. Every trial whispers, "Do you believe what you say you believe?" It asks, will you stand when appearances scream otherwise? Trials press against the thin walls of doubt to reveal whether you will collapse or whether you will rise. And each time you rise, each time you refuse to surrender to fear, you pass the prosperity test. You take one step closer to unlocking the treasures already stored for you. The final prosperity test is often the hardest. It may look like complete emptiness, like nothing is working, like every door is closed. But in truth, that final test is the threshold. It is the last polishing before the unveiling. Many people faint just before the breakthrough because they cannot see beyond the disguise of the trial. They look at the mask of lack and call it reality, not knowing that abundance waits just one breath beyond their faith. If only they would stand one more moment, declare one more affirmation, hold one more day in trust, the test would turn into testimony. Prosperity comes not to the anxious, but to the anchored. It flows not to those who beg and plead, but to those who command with certainty. And certainty is only developed when trials refine faith. It is easy to say, I believe, when the cupboards are full, when the accounts overflow, when doors swing open with ease. But when nothing seems to move, when prayers echo in silence, when effort yields no fruit, there lies the test. Do you still believe? Do you still know that unseen supply exists? Do you still walk as though provision is guaranteed? That is the refining of character. That is the making of a prosperous soul. Trials strip away illusions. They remove the crutches of outer appearances so that your faith can stand naked and true. They expose where you trust in human strength rather than divine supply. They reveal where fear still hides in the corners of your heart. And when those fears rise, the test asks, will you surrender them? Will you choose faith? Will you walk in knowing rather than doubting? If you can, then prosperity is inevitable, for you have aligned yourself with the law of abundance. Think of a seed buried in the earth. It cannot rise without first being pressed under soil, hidden in darkness, pushed by weight. The breaking of the shell is a trial, yet that breaking is the beginning of life. So too are your trials. They feel like crushing, but in truth they are birthing. They feel like endings, but in truth they are beginnings. They feel like loss, but in truth they are gain in disguise. The prosperity test is the soil pressing against you, but the pressure is proof that new life is pushing through. Every time you stand in faith through trial, your spiritual muscles grow stronger. Every time you speak abundance when lack tries to choke your voice, your words gain creative power. Every time you act in generosity even when appearances shout scarcity, you demonstrate mastery over fear, and the universe responds with multiplication. The trial is not the enemy, it is the teacher. It is not punishment, it is preparation. The test is not about deprivation, it is about elevation. Many cry out for prosperity without realizing that their trials are the very gatekeepers to it. You cannot skip the test, for the test ensures you can sustain the blessing. If a great fortune were to fall into the lap of one who has never faced loss, who has never conquered fear, who has never chosen faith in the valley, that fortune would vanish as quickly as it appeared. But to the one who has stood in the fire, to the one who has held fast when all seemed lost, to the one who has chosen gratitude in lack and trust in uncertainty, the fortune will not only come but will remain, for their character has been forged to hold it. Your trials have not been in vain, they were not meaningless, they were not wasted, they were not empty. Each one was a disguised prosperity test. Each one was shaping you, aligning you, refining you. Each one was the universe asking, are you ready for what I have prepared for you? And with every step of faith, every moment of endurance, every declaration of truth, you answered, yes, I am ready. So when the next trial arises, and it will see it for what it is, do not curse it, do not fear it, do not call it loss. Call it a test, and then pass it with joy. Declare in the face of it, this too is working for my good. This too is refining me. This too is proof that prosperity is near. And as you do, the trial will lose its disguise, and you will see the abundance hidden behind it. The truth is simple but powerful. Every trial you face is evidence that prosperity is on its way. For trials only come when increase is near. Darkness deepens before the dawn, pressure builds before the breakthrough, tests intensify before promotion. Do not shrink back. Stand, believe, declare. Act as though you already have the abundance, for in truth you do. You were never meant to live in fear, lack, or limitation. You were meant to live in overflow, in freedom, in prosperity. Trials are the bridge that carry you there. They are not barriers, but passageways. They are not punishments, but confirmations that you are close. Pass them with faith, and the doors of abundance will open wide before you. You are stronger than every storm. You are greater than every test. You are already victorious because the spirit within you is prosperity itself. Trials cannot defeat you, they can only refine you. And when you understand this, you no longer dread them. You welcome them as signs of your unfolding wealth. So rise today with new vision. See every challenge not as an enemy, but as a disguised prosperity test. Stand in the fire with joy, for the fire makes you gold. Walk through the valley with trust, for the valley leads to the mountain. Embrace the pressure, for pressure births diamonds. And above all, hold unwavering faith, for faith is the key that turns every trial into triumph, every test into testimony, and every disguise into destiny. The final test is not about gaining wealth but trusting the unseen supply. This is the wisdom that separates the seeker from the finder, the struggler from the master, the wanderer from the one who has arrived. Too often in life, people spend their years chasing after what they can touch, see and count, believing that the measure of abundance lies in coins, contracts, or the visible signs of gain. Yet the truth is deeper, more eternal, and more powerful than anything the eye can behold. The final test does not ask you how much you have gathered, but how much you can believe when all appearances suggest lack. It asks you to lift your gaze from the visible to the invisible, from the fleeting to the eternal, and from the temporary to the infinite. For many, prosperity is a pursuit, a long chase after things. They work, they toil, they grasp, and they cling, hoping that more effort will yield more riches. But the final test reveals something shocking. True prosperity is not a matter of how hard you labor, but of how firmly you trust the unseen supply. It is not about straining for provision but about aligning with it, speaking it, and knowing beyond doubt that it is yours. The final test strips away the outer layers of dependency on money, possessions, and circumstance, and it calls you into the pure faith that unseen substance is already flowing toward you in perfect order. There comes a point in every person's life when visible resources dry up. The contract doesn't come through, the bank account is empty, the opportunities seem to vanish, and the walls close in. That moment feels like failure, but in reality, it is the gateway to the test. The universe asks, will you now trust what you cannot see? Will you believe that beyond the absence of visible supply, there exists an ocean of abundance ready to manifest? Will you release fear and choose faith? That is the heart of the final prosperity test. Think of the seed buried in the earth. To the naked eye, it looks like death. It is hidden, surrounded by soil, without light, without any sign of growth. Yet within that dark, unseen place, life is stirring, roots are forming, and the miracle is unfolding. The seed does not fail because it is invisible. It succeeds precisely because the unseen power is at work. So it is with your prosperity. When nothing appears to be moving, when no signs point to your breakthrough, that is the time when your trust must become unshakable. For unseen supply is not a promise for the future. It is a present reality waiting for your unwavering belief to bring it into view. Wealth in its true sense is not what is stored in vaults or numbers on screens. It is the inexhaustible source that flows from the invisible realm into your experience. When you anchor yourself in that truth, fear loses its grip. You no longer tremble when one door closes, because you know that the supply never depended on that one door. You no longer panic when accounts look bare, because you understand that visible accounts are only reflections, never the source. The unseen supply is the source, and it is infinite. The final prosperity test is learning to rest in that knowledge, to speak from it, and to act as though it is already done. Many people are willing to trust when everything looks secure. But the test comes when appearances contradict the promise. The test is passed only when you can stand firm in the face of lack and declare, I am supplied, I am provided for, I live in abundance now. That declaration is not fantasy, it is command. It shifts energy, opens channels, and summons provision into your life. When you pass the test, you no longer live at the mercy of outer circumstances. You live as one who commands wealth from within, and life has no choice but to obey. You see, the universe does not reward desperation. It does not respond to fear-based grasping or anxious pleas. It responds to certainty, to calm authority, to the knowing that refuses to waver. When you stand in trust of the unseen, you align with the highest law of supply, and that law is always faithful. Just as gravity never fails, the law of unseen supply never fails. The only question is whether you will pass the test by resting in it. Passing the final prosperity test means you no longer beg for provision. You expect it. You no longer shrink at obstacles. You rise above them with calm assurance. You no longer measure your worth by visible possessions. You measure it by the infinite source within you. And in that state, wealth comes, opportunities open, connections appear, doors swing wide, because the energy of your being has shifted into command. Think of the moments when you nearly gave up, when it looked like everything was collapsing, but somehow a way appeared, somehow a provision was made, somehow the right person showed up at the right time. That was the unseen supply at work. You were being shown that you are never abandoned, never left without help, never truly in lack. The test was whether you would trust that truth even before the evidence appeared. There are those who live their whole lives chasing shadows, never realizing that prosperity is not about the shadows but about the light that casts them. They strive, they compete, they grasp, but they never arrive because they never trust the unseen. And then there are those who release the chase, who align with the inner certainty, who command rather than beg. Those are the ones who pass the test and step into endless increase. The final prosperity test asks you this: will you believe before you see, or will you insist on seeing before you believe? If you wait to see, you remain bound to the visible, always chasing, always doubting. But if you believe before you see, you unlock the gates of abundance, and the unseen rushes to become visible. That is the mystery of faith and the essence of wealth. You are not tested to break you, you are tested to awaken you. The test is not punishment, it is preparation. It refines your trust, deepens your faith, strengthens your vision, until nothing can shake you. Once you pass it, you are never the same. You live with a new authority, a calm assurance, a peace that knows supply is already yours. And from that place, wealth manifests in ways you could never plan, in amounts you could never calculate, and in forms you could never predict. So I say to you, rejoice in the unseen. Celebrate the invisible, rest in the certainty that what you require is already provided, waiting only for the perfect moment to appear. The final prosperity test is already behind you when you choose trust over fear. From now on, you walk not as one who chases wealth, but as one who embodies it. You carry the vibration of abundance, you speak with the authority of supply. You live as a magnet to all that is good. Remember, the final test is not about gaining wealth, but trusting the unseen supply. Once you grasp this truth, you hold the key to endless abundance. You are no longer tossed by appearances, no longer shaken by delays, no longer fearful of lack. You stand as one who knows, and because you know, life must yield its treasures to you. Trust the unseen, and you will never be without. Faith over fear is the ultimate currency of abundance. To many, those are just words, but to the one who has lived through trials, disappointments, and apparent lack, they are the dividing line between a life of struggle and a life of overflowing prosperity. The unseen world, the spiritual world, is moved not by anxiety, not by desperate prayers of fear, but by the calm, steady, unshakable declaration of faith. Faith is not timid, it does not beg, and it does not tremble. Faith speaks as though the thing desired has already been delivered, and because faith knows its authority, life bends to its voice. Fear is the counterfeit. It is a thief that strips away vision, reduces confidence, and cuts off the supply that was meant to flow freely. When one lives in fear, every step is heavy, every opportunity seems to slip away, and every door feels locked. But when one shifts into faith, the doors open, the opportunities multiply, and the river of abundance begins to move with unstoppable momentum. Faith is not naive. It does not deny the presence of challenges, but it refuses to exalt those challenges above the truth of divine supply. To walk in faith is to acknowledge that obstacles exist, but to know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that they are temporary shadows before the rising of a greater light. Fear says, I cannot, I will not, it is too much, it is too late. Faith says, it is mine, it is done, it is flowing to me even now. The difference between these two inner postures is the difference between living in limitation and living in abundance. What many do not realize is that money, wealth, success, these are spiritual matters before they ever become material realities. The heart that trembles with fear attracts delay, but the heart that is anchored in faith attracts acceleration. The final prosperity test every soul faces is this: will you choose faith over fear when everything in the outer world tells you to panic? Will you hold your peace when lack seems to surround you? Will you speak words of abundance when your pockets feel empty? Will you give thanks for supply when your eyes have not yet seen it? That is the test, and when you pass it, you graduate into a life where provision meets you at every corner. The outer world is simply a reflection of the inner stance, and when faith becomes your currency, the reflection must shift to mirror the abundance within. There are those who work tirelessly, striving, sweating, chasing after wealth, and yet they feel as though they are forever climbing a hill that never ends. Why? Because their inner world is ruled by fear. They believe money is scarce, opportunities are limited, and blessings are reserved only for the fortunate few. They live with the constant dread that they might lose what little they have. And so, the universe answers their belief with more struggle, more loss, more limitation. On the other hand, there are those who seem to live in ease, who speak calmly, who move with certainty, who give freely even when they do not yet see the full harvest. Their secret is not luck. Their secret is faith. They have learned the principle that what is unseen is more powerful than what is seen, and they live as though their abundance is guaranteed, because in truth, it already is. Faith creates an atmosphere that fear cannot enter. When one is clothed in faith, they do not beg life to treat them kindly, they command life with their words. They speak with authority because they know the law of prosperity responds to certainty, not hesitation. They declare, I am rich, I am supplied, I am connected to the infinite source, and because they declare it, it becomes visible in their experience. Fear whispers, be careful, hold back, there is not enough. Faith shouts, there is more than enough, there has always been enough, and I am connected to the well that never runs dry. Faith is the ultimate currency because it cannot be devalued, it cannot be stolen, and it multiplies every time it is used. Consider how many times fear has tried to dictate your choices. Fear says, do not invest, you might lose. Fear says, do not step out, you might fail. Fear says, do not trust, you might be disappointed. And every time fear is obeyed, the walls of limitation close tighter around you. But faith says, step forward, the ground will rise to meet your feet. Faith says, give freely, for it returns multiplied. Faith says, speak it, believe it, stand on it, and it shall appear. Faith is the only currency that can buy the things money cannot. Peace of mind, courage in adversity, joy in uncertainty, and a magnetic pull that draws tangible wealth into your life. Abundance does not begin with a paycheck, a business, or a transaction. Abundance begins with an inner conviction that no matter what appearances suggest, supply is already on the way. The moment you choose to replace fear with faith, you send out a signal that calls provision to you. The job may not yet have been offered, but faith already celebrates the acceptance letter. The account may not yet show the balance you desire, but faith already gives thanks for the overflowing harvest. The home, the opportunities, the resources may not yet be visible, but faith already takes possession in spirit, and because the unseen precedes the seen, the material world must eventually conform. When you walk in faith, you are not blind. You are simply seeing from a higher realm. You are living as though the promise is already fulfilled. Fear sees lack, faith sees overflow. Fear sees closed doors, faith sees divine timing. Fear sees the problem, faith sees the solution. And because what you focus on expands your faith, expands your abundance. Faith is not pretending, faith is knowing. Fear reacts to appearances, faith acts from truth. And the truth is this: you were never meant to live in lack. You were never meant to scrape by. You were created to command riches, to channel wealth, to overflow in blessings so that you become a river of supply for others. Faith is the seed and words are the water. Speak your abundance daily, not as a wish but as a fact. Say, I am prosperous now. I am wealthy now. I live in overflow now. Speak it not with doubt but with certainty. Speak it when you feel it and speak it when you do not. Speak it until your outer world bends to match your inner decree. Faith does not wait to see before it believes and therefore it sees. Fear waits for evidence, faith creates the evidence. This is why faith is the ultimate currency. It is the down payment on every manifestation you desire. There will always be opportunities for fear to creep in. The bill that seems too high, the door that closes unexpectedly, the delay that feels endless. But each of these is simply another test, another invitation to practice the law of prosperity. Will you sink into fear, or will you rise into faith? Remember, every master of abundance has stood where you stand. They too faced the same shadows, the same temptations to doubt, the same storms that threatened to shake them. But they held their faith, and because they did, the storms passed, and the sun of prosperity broke through. The ones who live in overflow today are not those who never had challenges. They are those who refuse to let fear make their decisions. Faith is the atmosphere of miracles. It is the magnet that draws what others call impossible. It is the language the universe understands. Faith says, I am wealthy, and wealth answers, here I am. Faith says, I am surrounded by opportunity, and doors open. Faith says, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, and money finds its path. Faith says, I am a channel of divine supply, and abundance flows not only to you but through you. Fear cannot do this. Fear pushes away, but faith pulls in. Fear closes doors, but faith builds bridges. Fear paralyzes, but faith mobilizes. Faith is the only true wealth, and from it flows every other form of wealth, financial, emotional, spiritual, and relational. You see this because you are ready. You see this because you have reached the point where fear no longer rules your decisions. You see this because your spirit is strong enough to grasp the truth that has always been waiting for you. Faith is your currency, and you are infinitely supplied. Do not waste another moment bowing to fear. Fear has never paid a bill, never opened a door, never multiplied a harvest. Only faith has done that, and only faith ever will. Faith is the only currency accepted in the storehouse of the universe. Faith is the signature required on the check of abundance. Faith is the open hand that receives from the invisible well that never runs dry. Faith is the magnet, the command, the certainty. Faith is the power. So step boldly now, without hesitation, speak your wealth. Declare your prosperity, trust the unseen supply. Walk as though you are already clothed in riches because you are. The final test has been passed. Fear has been dismissed. Faith reigns, and abundance flows to you now without measure, without delay, without end. Scarcity is an illusion. Abundance is the soul's birthright. This truth, when understood, dissolves chains that have held humanity captive for centuries. The mind of limitation has painted shadows across the landscape of life, convincing people that there is not enough, that the world is short of resources, short of opportunities, short of possibilities. Yet when you step into the higher vision, when you awaken to the law of supply that governs the universe, You see clearly that lack is not reality but perception. It is not the truth of creation, only the fear of man. Abundance, infinite and unshakable, is the very fabric from which life itself is woven. The rivers do not run dry, the stars do not dim, the sun does not withhold its light. Why then should you imagine that provision, increase, and supply would ever run short for you? Every blade of grass is a testimony that provision is endless. Every wave that crashes against the shore is proof that supply is constant. The air you breathe does not run out, nor does the earth stop producing harvests. What you call scarcity is nothing but a veil of thought, a cloud formed from fear, doubt, and disbelief. Yet once you pierce through that cloud with the light of truth, you see what was hidden all along, the storehouse of heaven overflowing, the treasures of the universe already prepared, the endless river of wealth flowing toward those who dare to believe. Scarcity whispers that you must compete, fight, struggle, and grasp for scraps. It says there is not enough for all, so you must take what little you can before someone else does. But abundance sings another song. It declares that the universe is generous, that there is more than enough for every soul born upon this earth. It proclaims that wealth multiplies when it is shared, that opportunities expand when they are recognized, that provision increases when faith is exercised. The illusion of lack blinds the eyes, but the revelation of abundance opens them wide. You were not created to live in the shadow of shortage. You were created to walk in the fullness of supply. To believe in scarcity is to forget your divine origin. To believe in abundance is to remember who you truly are. You are not a beggar at the door of life, hoping for crumbs to fall from some unseen table. You are an heir of an infinite kingdom, a child of an endless storehouse, a vessel designed to overflow with riches in every form, material, spiritual, relational, and creative. The soul does not shrink, it expands. The soul does not fear, it knows. And the soul knows this eternal truth: abundance is your inheritance, and nothing can take it from you. The illusion of scarcity is maintained by thought patterns passed down through generations. Children are taught to fear not having enough. Families echo phrases of limitation. "Who can't afford that? There is never enough. Money doesn't grow on trees. Life is hard." These seeds of lack are planted in young minds, and they grow into strongholds of belief that govern adult lives. Yet every belief can be uprooted, every illusion shattered, every lie replaced with truth. And the truth is radiant. Supply is as infinite as the love of the source from which it flows. Think for a moment of the cycles of nature. The tree does not hoard its fruit. It does not worry if another season will come. It simply produces abundantly, effortlessly, in rhythm with divine order. The flowers do not ration their bloom, they open wide, releasing color and fragrance without fear of running out. The rivers do not drip cautiously, conserving water in case the rains might not return. They flow in power, in rhythm, in endless confidence. If creation itself operates on abundance without fear, how much more should you, the highest expression of divine life, live free from the illusion of lack? Scarcity is not real. It is a mask worn by fear. And fear, when unmasked, vanishes in the light of faith. What is faith but the daring decision to believe in abundance before the eyes can see it? Faith is the evidence of supply before the bank account shows it. The certainty of provision before the hand can hold it. Faith pulls abundance from the invisible into the visible. It reaches into the unseen warehouse of the universe and commands that supply to take form in the physical. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is divine knowing. And when faith is exercised, lack loses its grip. Abundance is your birthright because you were born from abundance itself. The source from which you came is infinite, and what is infinite cannot produce limitation. You are not an orphan abandoned in a scarce world. You are a beloved child of a generous universe. Just as the bird does not purchase its wings yet soars across the sky, just as the fish does not buy the water yet swims without end, so too are you meant to live freely in the wealth of provision that surrounds you. You do not pay for your breath, yet every moment it fills your lungs. The greatest riches, air, sunlight, love, inspiration, come without price. They are given, poured out, and multiplied. Why then should you believe that money, opportunities, or resources would be withheld? Scarcity breeds fear, and fear creates struggle. Abundance breeds peace, and peace creates flow. When you live in fear, you tighten your grip, you hoard, you worry, and you chase shadows. But when you live in abundance, you release, you give, you trust, and you receive. What you release returns multiplied. What you give expands. What you trust in manifests. Prosperity is not a chase but a flow. It is not outside you but within you, ready to pour forth once you align with truth. The final test of prosperity is the surrender of the illusion of scarcity. It is when you no longer bow to fear but rise in the confidence of your divine right to abundance. Many struggle at this threshold because the illusion feels so real. The bills arrive, the debts speak loudly, the circumstances appear tight. But appearance is not reality. Just as a desert can hide springs beneath its surface, just as winter can conceal the life waiting to bloom in spring, so too contemporary circumstances conceal the abundance ready to burst forth. To pass the test is to see beyond appearances, to refuse the lie of lack, and to speak abundance even when lack shouts the loudest. Abundance answers to the voice of faith. Speak to life as if you know you are rich, and life will confirm your words. Speak to opportunities as if they are endless, and they will rush toward you. Speak to supply as if it flows without interruption, and it will do so. Words are seeds, and when you sow words of abundance, you reap a harvest of provision. When you declare, I always have enough, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. Opportunities are abundant. Life is generous. You align your vibration with the eternal truth that abundance is your birthright. Scarcity has no foundation in truth. It cannot stand in the face of conviction. The soul that has awakened to abundance does not chase after riches anxiously but attracts them naturally. It becomes a magnet, drawing wealth, favor, and blessing without strain. The law of abundance works as surely as the law of gravity. It is not a question of whether it exists, but whether you are aligned with it, and alignment begins in the mind. When the mind releases thoughts of lack and embraces thoughts of plenty, the outer world shifts to match the inner knowing. Every time you choose to believe in abundance instead of scarcity, you strengthen your spiritual muscles. Every time you affirm supply in the face of bills, you anchor yourself deeper into truth. Every time you give generously when fear says to withhold, you declare your trust in the infinite. These small acts accumulate, and soon the illusion of scarcity collapses like a broken wall, revealing the endless horizon of possibility stretching before you. The journey from scarcity to abundance is not outside of you, it is within you. It is not about accumulating possessions but about awakening perception. Once perception shifts, possessions follow naturally. Once you see yourself as a rightful heir of infinite supply, your reality bends to confirm it. Scarcity can no longer deceive you. The moment you know the truth, lack loses all power. So rise today in the full awareness that abundance is your inheritance. Reject the lie that says you are limited, undeserving, or lacking. Embrace the truth that you are supplied, favored, and destined for overflow. Scarcity is an illusion, it has no power over you. Abundance is the eternal song of your soul, and when you sing in harmony with it, life answers with wealth, opportunities, health, love, and joy. The universe itself bends to provide for the one who knows who they are. And you, awaken to this truth, will never again bow to the shadow of lack. You were born from abundance, you live in abundance, and you shall manifest abundance in all things, now and forever. True prosperity flows when one commands life instead of begging from it. To beg is to affirm lack. To command is to affirm dominion. To beg is to place yourself in the posture of the powerless. To command is to remember you are created in the image of infinite power. Begging keeps the soul crawling before circumstances. Commanding lifts the soul to stand as master over them. When you beg, you are saying, I do not believe it is already mine. But when you command, you declare, I know it belongs to me by divine right, and I claim it now. There is a hidden law in the universe that responds to confidence, to certainty, to faith spoken with authority. Life does not respond to whimpers, it responds to decrees. The world around you, the unseen forces, the opportunities waiting in silence, the resources hidden from plain sight, they are not stirred by hesitation but by bold declarations. The wealth that flows in rivers does not begin to move until someone with conviction commands it to come forth. That is why true prosperity has little to do with effort and everything to do with alignment. It is not toil that opens the treasury of heaven, it is spoken faith that cannot be denied. You may have spent years working, laboring, pushing, sweating, and striving, yet only tasting drops of abundance instead of drinking from the river itself. Why? Because deep in your heart you were still begging life to bless you instead of commanding life to serve you. You pleaded with fate, hoping it would smile on you. You whispered to the heavens as if you were unworthy of their favor. But hear this, the heavens never ask you to crawl, they ask you to rise. You were never made to be a beggar before the universe. You were made to be a channel of its endless supply. To command life is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is stepping into the role you were designed for. Think of the sun. It does not ask permission to rise each morning. It commands the sky with its presence. The ocean does not beg the shore for space. It commands the rhythm of its tides. The stars do not plead for their light to be seen. They command the darkness to bow before them. If creation itself operates by command, why should you operate by begging? You too are part of this creation, designed with the same authority to declare and see it manifest. True prosperity is not in possessions alone. It is the deep knowing that you live in union with supply. It is a consciousness that says, I never lack, I never want, for all I need is already here. But how do you draw what is already yours from the unseen into the seen? Not by begging, not by pleading, not by hoping life takes pity on you. You draw it forth by commanding with the authority of one who knows they have the right to it. You call things that are not as though they are. You speak to your circumstances as a master speaks to a servant, not as a slave pleads with a master. Look at the difference in posture. The beggar bows low, eyes cast down, hands trembling, hoping crumbs might fall from the table. The commander stands tall, eyes lifted, voice firm, knowing the table itself was prepared for them. When you beg, you speak from fear. When you command, you speak from faith, and prosperity answers only to faith. Commanding life requires that you change your language. Every word you speak either opens or closes the doors of abundance. When you say, I hope it works out, you beg. When you say, it must work out, for the law of good is governing this situation, you command. When you say, I wish I could afford this, you beg. When you say, money comes to me easily and frequently, I am fully supplied, you command. Life bends toward words of authority because words are not mere sounds. They are creative forces that shape reality. Many fail the prosperity test because they are too timid with their words. They shrink, they whisper, they apologize for asking too much, as if the universe will run out. But life has no shortage. Wealth is infinite, opportunities are abundant, and supply is unending. You dishonor the source when you beg for drops while oceans wait at your command. To command prosperity is also to command your own thoughts. You cannot speak authority with your mouth while entertaining defeat in your mind. The commander disciplines the inner voice until it echoes the language of victory. That is why affirmations are so powerful. They are rehearsals of authority until the soul believes them as natural truth. When you wake each morning and declare, I am rich in every area of my life, you are not lying to yourself, you are commanding life to align with what is already true in spirit. Think of the many moments in your past when you begged and compared them to the rare moments when you commanded. When you begged, what came? Little. When you commanded with certainty, what followed? Doors opened, people showed up, resources flowed. That is because the vibration of command carries power that begging can never match. Life listens to those who speak as creators, not as victims. Commanding does not mean demanding from others. It means standing in the authority of divine law, knowing that life itself will rearrange to deliver what is rightfully yours. You do not need to pressure people. You command the invisible to work in your favor, and the visible will follow. The phone call will come, the opportunity will appear, the debt will be cleared, the wealth will flow, because the unseen has already been moved by your authority. When you understand this, struggle ceases. Begging always leads to struggle because it affirms separation from supply. Commanding ends struggle because it affirms union with supply. You no longer toil as though you are far from abundance, you live as though abundance is inseparable from you. And indeed it is, for abundance is the very breath of your being. True prosperity also flows when you command gratitude. Gratitude is not a soft emotion but a commanding force. It declares, I already have, therefore more comes. When you give thanks in advance, you command the future to deliver its blessings in the present. A grateful heart is never a begging heart. Gratitude is a bold statement to the universe. I am already rich and riches multiply now. Do not misunderstand. Commanding is not arrogance, nor is it entitlement. It is humility of the highest order because it acknowledges the source as your supply. To beg says, I am separate and I hope you notice me. To command says, I am one with the source and I declare what already exists in truth. One is weakness, the other is strength. One affirms lack, the other affirms wholeness. Prosperity flows because the law of life cannot resist authority spoken in alignment with truth. Just as the seed must break open when placed in soil, just as light must appear when darkness is commanded to flee, so must supply appear when prosperity is commanded into being. The law cannot be broken, it must obey the voice of faith. Every moment of your life gives you the chance to choose, will I beg or will I command? Will I shrink back or will I step forward? Will I hope or will I know? When you choose command, life rearranges itself around your conviction. Money finds you, favor finds you, opportunities chase you down. Why? Because you finally stopped running after them and began calling them to you. The final prosperity test for every soul is this: can you move from begging to commanding? Can you stop approaching life as though you are powerless and begin approaching it as though you are a master? Can you stop whispering, please may I have enough, and start declaring, all I need comes to me now in divine order? That is the test. And when you pass it, prosperity cannot be withheld from you. So stand today as one who commands. Speak with authority, think with authority, walk with authority, live with authority. Let your words be filled with certainty, your heart with gratitude, your mind with vision. Do not crawl, do not plead, do not shrink. Rise up, take your rightful place, and command life to reveal the prosperity that has always been yours. For true prosperity flows when one commands life instead of begging from it. When you step into a higher vibration, when your heart chooses faith over fear, when you begin to walk with the certainty that abundance is already yours, the universe begins to answer you in whispers, in alignments, and in signs that cannot be denied. The world around you starts to rearrange itself in patterns that match your inner belief. Doors open with such perfect timing that you know they were designed only for you. People show up in your path with exactly what you need, sometimes in ways you never could have orchestrated with your own mind. These are the signs of readiness. These are the synchronicities that declare to your spirit you have passed the test, you are prepared, and now the flow of prosperity begins. Prosperity is not given to those who beg for it with a spirit of desperation. Prosperity is entrusted to those who can carry it with responsibility, joy, and faith. The universe must be sure you are ready, and so it tests, it stretches, it delays, not to punish but to prepare. It allows you to walk through moments of lack, not to shame you, but to strengthen your declaration that lack is temporary, that abundance is eternal. When you refuse to bow to fear, when you hold fast to your vision despite what your senses see, you prove that you are not led by appearances but by the deeper knowing of spirit. And then, without announcement, the signs begin to appear. Perhaps it starts with a small confirmation, a number that repeats until you can no longer ignore it, a phrase you needed to hear that suddenly comes from the lips of a stranger, a message like this one arriving before your eyes at the perfect moment. You call it coincidence, but deep down you know it is far more. It is the universe placing a seal upon your faith, saying, yes, you are ready. The synchrony of events is no accident. It is a divine orchestration, a dance between your intention and the eternal supply of life that rushes to meet it. The final prosperity test always ends with confirmation. When you have proven that you can see beyond appearances, when you have chosen gratitude in the face of delay, when you have spoken abundance into the very atmosphere of lack, then the universe begins to show you signs that your manifestation is close. The synchronicities are like the cracks of dawn before the sunrise, small beams of light piercing the darkness, telling you that day has already begun. But many souls miss these signs. They call them chance. They dismiss them as meaningless, and in doing so they forfeit the encouragement the universe has laid before them. The wise soul knows that nothing is meaningless. Every repetition, every symbol, every unexpected alignment is a divine wink, a reminder that you are not alone, that your path is guided, and that prosperity is closer than you think. Consider this when you declare, I am ready for abundance. You do not simply speak into empty space. Your words carry power. They are currents that move into the unseen, rearranging circumstances, shifting people, preparing opportunities. But before those opportunities manifest in tangible form, they often appear in symbolic form. This is the language of the universe, the language of signs and synchronicities. It is the way life whispers, stay the course, you are almost there. Maybe the right book finds its way into your hands at the exact moment you needed that wisdom. Maybe you overhear a conversation that gives you the solution to a problem you've wrestled with for months. Maybe a financial blessing arrives in small measure, not the full manifestation, but enough to spark your faith and keep your heart open. All of these are confirmations that you are aligned, that your readiness is clear, and that the flow of abundance has begun to move toward you. The danger is not in the signs being absent, but in the eyes being blind. Many look at their lives and see nothing but randomness, yet every detail is infused with divine timing. The bird that sings outside your window, the friend who calls you just when you felt forgotten, the job offer that seems delayed but arrives exactly when you need it. All of these are synchronies that prove readiness. When your spirit is awake, you recognize them for what they are, sacred affirmations that the universe has heard you. Understand this truth: abundance does not come to the fearful heart. Fear vibrates on the frequency of lack, and lack can only produce more lack. But the one who walks by faith has tuned themselves to the frequency of provision. And because the universe is governed by law, that frequency must return to them what they have put forth. When readiness is proven, the universe cannot withhold prosperity, for it is not the nature of life to deny, it is the nature of life to overflow. Think of a river dam. The water has been pressing against the barrier for days, months, maybe years. You cannot see the force building behind it, but is gathering. Then comes the moment when the dam gives way and the river rushes forth with unstoppable strength. Prosperity works the same way. While you are being tested, the flow of your abundance is being stored, gathered, pressed together, multiplied. The signs and synchronicities you receive are the cracks in the dam. They are the subtle leaks that tell you the flood is near. And when your faith holds steady, the final release comes, and nothing can stop it. Do not despise the small confirmations. Celebrate them. Each sign is proof that your word has been heard and that supply is on its way. Each synchronicity is a stone on the path, leading you directly to your breakthrough. The more you acknowledge them, the more they multiply. Gratitude magnifies synchronicity. Awareness increases the flow. There is a reason you see this message right now. It is not because you are lost, but because you are found. It is not because you failed, but because you passed. It is the universe saying to you, I have tested your patience. I have tested your faith. I have tested your endurance, and you did not give up. You spoke abundance when others spoke lack. You believed when others doubted. You commanded when others begged. And now I confirm you are ready. This readiness is not simply about money. Prosperity encompasses more than financial wealth. It includes health, peace, relationships, opportunities, joy, and creativity. To be prosperous is to live in harmony with divine supply, lacking nothing, flowing in everything. The universe knows when you are ready for such a life, and it announces it through these sacred alignments. You may wonder why the signs seem small at first. Why does the universe whisper instead of shout? The answer is simple: those who are awake will hear the whisper, while those who are asleep would ignore even the shout. The whisper is a test within the test. Can you recognize abundance in its seed form? Can you trust the sprout before the harvest arrives? Can you praise the trickle before the flood comes? If you can, you are ready. If you cannot, the test continues until your eyes are opened. Every time you notice a synchronicity, every time you honor it with gratitude, you deepen your alignment. You tell the universe, I see, I understand, I am ready, and with that readiness, more is given. The law of life is increase, and it never fails. There are moments when you will feel like giving up, moments when the signs seem faint and the road feels long. But even then, the universe has not abandoned you. The delay is part of the design, for patience is also proof of readiness. If abundance were given too quickly, it would slip through hands not yet strengthened to hold it. But when the vessel is prepared, the overflow comes naturally, and it remains. So take heart. If you are seeing this now, you are standing in your confirmation. You are surrounded by signs whether you notice them or not. The alignment is already in motion. The universe has marked you as ready, and the proof is in the synchronicities that will only grow stronger from this moment forward. Watch closely. The next conversation you have, the next opportunity that crosses your path, the next number that repeats before your eyes. None of these will be accidents. They will be the language of life itself saying to you, abundance is here. Pay attention. Rejoice in them, for they are the footprints of prosperity walking straight toward your door. You have passed the final test. The universe confirms it. The signs are surrounding you, and the synchronicities are multiplying. Step forward now with confidence, for your season of abundance has begun, and nothing can stop what has been divinely aligned for you. The universe confirms readiness with signs and synchronicities. When the soul reaches the threshold of true abundance, the outer world begins to mirror the inner transformation. Nothing is accidental. Everything that appears on the path is a reflection of the vibration you carry within. When you align your thoughts, your words, and your faith with the infinite source of prosperity, life itself begins to whisper back to you. The whispers come in patterns, in alignments, in encounters that seem too precise to be coincidence. These are the signs. These are the synchronicities. They are not merely strange happenings, they are confirmations from the invisible world that you are in step with divine order. The greatest mistake many make is dismissing these signs as chance. They see repeating numbers, hear words spoken by strangers that match the prayer they whispered in solitude, or they find themselves at the right place at the perfect moment, and they brush it off. Yet the universe never speaks in accident. It speaks in a language too precise for doubt and too personal for dismissal. Every synchronicity is a message addressed directly to you. It is the universe saying, "Yes, I have heard you. Yes, I have aligned the path. Yes, the manifestation is already unfolding." When prosperity is about to break through, the outer world begins to shimmer with alignment. Doors that were locked swing open. People who hold keys to your destiny appear without warning. Conversations you never planned to hear suddenly answer the very question your heart was holding. You begin to see repeating confirmations, numbers like 111, 222, 777, or symbols like feathers, coins, rainbows, each carrying the whisper that the invisible hand is guiding your visible life. The universe confirms readiness not with thunder and lightning but with gentle alignments that only the attuned eye can recognize. These synchronicities are not given to the distracted or the faithless. They appear when you have walked through the tests of doubt, when you have refused to give in to the voice of fear, and when you have elevated your inner vision beyond the world of appearances. They are gifts of reassurance. They are the divine nods of approval, telling you that the command you spoke in faith has been heard, and the fulfillment is already in motion. Think of the times when you prayed for provision, and suddenly, someone you had not seen in years appeared, offering an opportunity. Consider the moments when you declared prosperity, and a phone call or message came within hours confirming the very increase you asked for. These are not coincidences, they are spiritual signals. They are the threads of divine order weaving your outer reality to match your inner decree. To pass the test of prosperity is to become sensitive to this language. The universe is always speaking, but not all listen. Some see only chaos where there is actually order, randomness where there is actually design. But when the soul matures, when your spirit is tuned to the frequency of abundance, your vision clears. You no longer dismiss what you see, you recognize it. You say, "This is for me. This is my confirmation. The universe confirms readiness by aligning the right people, the right resources, and the right timing. There is no struggle in this process. You are not clawing your way into prosperity. You are not begging life for scraps. Instead, you walk with assurance, and as you move, everything you need moves toward you. You think of someone and they call. You imagine a path and a door opens in that very direction. You speak a word in faith, and life answers back with undeniable alignment. That is the dance of synchronicity, and it is the signature of prosperity. Many souls wait for abundance to appear in the form of money alone, but prosperity announces itself long before wealth reaches the hands. It shows up in signs that the channel is open. You feel lighter in spirit. You begin to attract conversations of increase. You meet people who reflect back the vibration of faith. You see your desires mirrored in subtle ways before they become visible in full. This is the universe testing your vision, asking, do you see? Do you recognize? Will you believe before it becomes material? Those who recognize the signs receive the fulfillment. Those who dismiss them delay their own good, for doubt closes the very door faith has opened. The test of signs is a delicate one. When the universe sprinkles the path with synchronicities, it is not only confirming, it is measuring your awareness. Will you honor these confirmations as sacred, or will you call them coincidence and walk away? Those who honor them rise higher. They lean into the invisible. They give thanks before the harvest arrives, knowing that the buds of manifestation are already sprouting. Gratitude for the sign is what accelerates the fulfillment. Imagine a farmer who sees the first sprout breaking through the soil. He does not say, "This is only a coincidence, I cannot believe harvest is coming." No, he rejoices because he knows the sprout is the proof of the invisible seed now becoming visible. In the same way, every sign, every synchronicity is your sprout of prosperity. It is evidence that the seed you planted in faith has taken root and is emerging into form. The final prosperity test is often hidden in this very recognition. It is easy to believe when the bank account is full, when the opportunity has already landed in your hands, when the abundance is tangible. But the true test is whether you can see the invisible hand in small alignments, whether you can recognize the whisper before the shout, whether you can honor the sign before the substance. Those who pass this test walk into wealth effortlessly, for they no longer demand proof from the material world. They already know the manifestation exists, and the signs are simply love letters from the universe along the way. So, my friend, pay attention. The signs are already around you. The conversation you overheard was not random. The opportunity that brushed your path was not by chance. The dream that repeated itself in your sleep carried a message. The numbers you keep seeing are not mistakes, they are signals. Life is weaving itself to bring you into full manifestation. The universe is confirming your readiness. You are no longer the one who struggles, you are the one who attracts. You are no longer wandering in uncertainty, you are walking in alignment. You are no longer chasing prosperity, prosperity is chasing you. This is why you see what you see now. This is why the message has found its way to you at this precise moment. It is not late, and it is not early. It is right on time, because you are ready. You have passed through the fires of doubt. You have crossed the desert of lack. You have lifted your eyes when everything around you said to bow your head. And now the universe answers with signs. Do not doubt them. Do not question them. Do not dismiss them. Celebrate them, give thanks for them, and expect more of them. For as surely as the morning follows the night, the signs you see are the forerunners of the abundance that is about to pour into your life. This is the language of the universe, the code of prosperity, the way spirit whispers to the faithful. And now that you know, you will never see the world as random again. You will see it as it truly is, a symphony of divine order, confirming every step of your journey, and proving again and again that your prosperity is not only possible, it is inevitable. And when the flood of provision finally arrives, you will look back at the signs and smile, for you will know they were not coincidences, they were confirmations, gentle signals of love, guiding you into the wealth that was always yours. What belongs to you can no longer be delayed or denied. This is not a suggestion, not a wish, not even a hope. It is a spiritual decree, a divine certainty, a law written into the very fabric of existence. For too long, you may have walked with the weight of waiting. You may have believed that blessings were always somewhere out there in the distance, hovering just beyond reach, promising but never arriving. You may have thought that life had overlooked you, that opportunities slipped by you, or that your season was not yet ready. But I stand to tell you this day your season has arrived. The doors are open, the path is clear, and the flow of prosperity has broken through every barrier that once stood in its way. What belongs to you can no longer be delayed, and it can no longer be denied. The universe operates on divine order, and within that order is timing. You have endured seasons of silence, of stillness, of what felt like denial. But even in that silence, the seeds of abundance were taking root beneath the soil. Every prayer spoken, every affirmation released, every vision carried in your heart has been growing unseen. Just as a seed planted in the earth does not instantly reveal its harvest, so too have your declarations been germinating in secret. Yet there comes a moment when the soil can no longer hold the sprout, when the seed bursts forth into life, when the hidden becomes visible. You have reached that moment now. You see these words because the universe itself is telling you it is time. Prosperity tests come to measure not your worthiness, for you have always been worthy, but your readiness. The final test is never about whether you deserve abundance. It is about whether you will stand firm in your truth when lack tries to shout louder. It is about whether you will cling to the vision even when evidence seems absent. It is about whether you can walk as though it is already done, even when your eyes see nothing. That test has been passed. You would not be hearing this message otherwise. You would not have been drawn to these words unless you had crossed through the fire and been proven. Life only delivers this confirmation when the test is complete, when the soul has graduated from waiting into receiving. Think of the delays you once faced, the doors that would not open, the phone calls that never came, the opportunities that seemed to slip away. At the time, you may have thought they were rejections, that the universe was withholding good from you. But every delay carried purpose. Every detour protected you from something not aligned with your highest path. What once looked like denial was actually preparation. What once felt like rejection was redirection. And now, everything you thought was lost is finding its way back to you in a greater form. The delay is broken, and the denial has been overturned. The truth is, nothing that belongs to you can ever be taken away. It may be postponed, it may take the long route, but it cannot be stolen. Your blessings are marked with your name. Your prosperity has a signature written by the hand of divine order itself. It does not belong to another, it was crafted for you. And when you finally align in faith, when you declare the truth of abundance, the universe rushes to deliver what has always been yours. It cannot be withheld a moment longer. So I say again, with power and certainty, what belongs to you can no longer be delayed or denied. Feel the weight of those words. Let them sink into the core of your being. Say them aloud not as a whisper but as a decree. For when you declare them, you are not just speaking into the air, you are activating a law, you are aligning your vibration with the abundance that is already waiting for you. These words are not mere sentences. They are keys. And every time you speak them, you unlock another door to prosperity. Many live in fear that time has passed them by, that it is too late to see their dreams fulfilled. They measure life by calendars and clocks, believing that missed years are lost years. But spirit does not operate by human time. Spirit restores, spirit multiplies. Spirit can do in one day what years of labor could never accomplish. What you thought was lost in time will return multiplied, pressed down, and overflowing. The years of delay are redeemed, and the tables are turned in your favor. You are not behind, you are right on schedule. Every experience that seemed like wasted time was training. Every heartbreak was refinement. Every closed door was a hidden lesson teaching you to trust the unseen. And now, all that you walk through becomes fuel for the prosperity you are stepping into. Nothing was wasted, nothing was lost. Everything has been gathered, refined, and transformed to deliver to you a harvest that cannot be denied. Consider how rivers flow. At times a rock or branch may block the water, forcing it to slow or detour. But the river is relentless. It will find another path. It will build pressure until the blockage is pushed aside, and in time it always reaches its destination. Your prosperity is that river. Yes, obstacles have appeared. Yes, delays have come, but the flow never stopped. It was building strength, pressing forward, carving new pathways, until the force was unstoppable. And now, that force has broken through. The river of abundance is rushing toward you with power that cannot be denied. It is time to stop asking, when, and start declaring, now. The universe responds to certainty, not desperation. The prosperity you seek is already in motion, and your role is not to chase it, but to receive it. You do not have to beg. You do not have to plead. You simply stand in faith and say, what belongs to me is already mine. It is here, it is flowing, it is manifesting now. That level of certainty collapses delay and erases denial. It shifts you from waiting into receiving. Do not let fear creep in again. Do not reopen the door to doubt. When thoughts of scarcity whisper, remind them of this truth: what belongs to me can no longer be delayed or denied. When circumstances seem slow to move, declare it again with even greater force. When you are tempted to question whether your breakthrough is real, stand firm in this law and know it is unshakable. The test has already been passed. The results have already been written. Prosperity is already on its way, and nothing can stand in its path. You are stepping into a season where doors open effortlessly, where opportunities come seeking you, where provision arrives at unexpected times and in unexpected ways. Money flows, resources align, connections appear, and every need is met with ease. You no longer chase prosperity. It chases you. You no longer wait for blessings. They find you. What is yours cannot miss you, cannot pass you by, cannot belong to another. What belongs to you can no longer be delayed or denied. Say it as a song in your spirit. Say it when you wake in the morning. Say it when you lie down at night. Let it be the anchor of your belief. For as you declare it, you align with it, and as you align with it, you receive it. This is the law of prosperity, and it is working for you now. So walk with boldness. Speak with authority. Live with certainty. The test is finished, the doors are open, the river is flowing, and your harvest is here. What belongs to you can no longer be delayed or denied. It is yours. It is here. It is now. My friend, the words you are about to receive are not given to you by chance. They are delivered to your spirit because you are ready for them. The moment you set your eyes upon this truth, the current of your life shifted, and a new doorway opened before you. That doorway is prosperity, provision, increase, and freedom. Yet it is not enough to see the door. You must walk through it, and walking through it requires that you refuse to look back at doubt, because doubt has only one purpose: to close what has already been opened for you. Faith, on the other hand, keeps doors swinging wide, inviting you into a future greater than anything you have ever imagined. So many souls begin their journey with enthusiasm. They hear the whisper of abundance, they feel the tug of destiny, and they dare to believe that something more is possible. For a moment, their steps are strong and their declarations bold. But then the shadow of doubt creeps in. Doubt asks, what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if this dream is too big for you? And in answering those questions, even silently, they glance backward. They take one look at the valley they were delivered from, one look at the fear they thought they had conquered, and with that single glance, the door of possibility begins to swing shut. It does not slam all at once, it closes slowly, quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day the opportunity is gone, not because the universe removed it, but because the individual allowed doubt to steal it away. But faith, faith is another matter entirely. Faith does not peek back over the shoulder to measure whether the past is chasing. Faith does not ask, what if it doesn't happen? Faith declares, it is already happening. Faith takes the step, even when the ground cannot yet be seen. Faith holds the key in its hand and knows that every door of increase will yield, every gate of abundance will respond, every treasure of provision will unlock. Faith never looks back, for it knows the past contains nothing worth clinging to. Faith fixes its eyes on what is ahead, for ahead lies the true wealth, the joy, the peace, the freedom, the destiny that has been waiting all along. You may ask, why is looking back at doubt so dangerous? Because doubt is not neutral. It is destructive. Doubt is like a thief waiting at the threshold, ready to snatch the blessing before you can reach it. Doubt clouds the mind, paralyzes action, and distorts vision. Doubt whispers of lack even when abundance is already knocking at the door. When you look back at doubt, you give it power, you give it voice, you give it authority to rewrite your story. Every glance backward strengthens the chain that once bound you. Every moment spent revisiting your old fears weakens the boldness of your steps. And eventually, the open doors that faith had unlocked are quietly sealed again, leaving you wondering why prosperity seemed to vanish when in truth it was never gone. It was only pushed away by your own hesitation. But when you move forward in faith, something miraculous occurs. Doors do not merely remain open, they multiply. One door leads to another and another and another. Faith creates momentum. Faith turns a single opportunity into a cascade of breakthroughs. Faith commands the universe to align with your declarations. Faith does not wait for evidence, it creates the evidence. It says, I am rich, and suddenly provision appears. It says, I am free, and suddenly obstacles crumble. It says, I am blessed, and blessings begin to rush in from directions you could not have predicted. Faith does not question how or when. It only moves, and in moving, it proves that all things are already working together for its good. Let us imagine two travelers on the same road. One begins with joy but glances back at every sound of doubt. They hear whispers of limitation and pause, turning their head to wonder if perhaps the old life was safer, if perhaps the struggle was familiar enough to cling to. At every glance backward, their pace slows, their steps falter. And though the road of prosperity stretches wide before them, they never reach the treasures that await, because they spent too much time measuring the shadows behind them. The other traveler, however, sets their eyes forward and never looks back. They hear the same whispers, feel the same shadows, but they refuse to grant them even a glance. They keep moving, declaring with each step, I know who I am, and I know what belongs to me. With that faith, they arrive at the treasures, they open the doors, and they step into the abundance that the other traveler only dreamed of. What made the difference? Not opportunity, not circumstance, not destiny, but the simple choice to refuse doubt and to embrace faith. Beloved soul, you stand at the same crossroad today. You can look back at the fears, the failures, the voices that once told you that wealth is not for you, that success is reserved for others, that freedom is a dream too distant. Or you can keep your eyes forward, declaring that every good thing is already on its way. You see this message before you because you are being called to choose the latter. You are being called to shut the door on doubt forever, to burn the bridge back to fear, and to walk boldly into the future with faith as your constant companion. Do not let the memory of past lack convince you that abundance is impossible. Do not let the wounds of yesterday silence the declaration of today. Do not let the disappointment of what did not work then stop you from believing in what is working now. Looking back is a trap, a snare designed to keep you circling in the same wilderness. But faith breaks the cycle. Faith says, my future is not bound to my past. What failed before has no power to stop what succeeds today. Faith announces, every closed door in the past was only a redirection to the open doors before me now. And with that declaration, the doors stay open, the pathway stays clear, and the treasure stays within reach. Let us speak plainly. Prosperity is not about luck. It is about alignment. It is about your words, your beliefs, your decisions, your willingness to trust in the unseen. When you look back at doubt, you misalign yourself with the frequency of abundance. You turn the dial to static, and the signal of prosperity cannot reach you. But when you keep moving forward in faith, you tune perfectly into the channel of increase. Suddenly ideas arrive, people appear, opportunities unfold. You are no longer forcing wealth, you are magnetizing it. You are no longer chasing provision, it is chasing you. That is the reward of faith. Understand this: the final prosperity test is not about numbers in a bank account. It is not about the size of the house you live in or the car you drive. It is about whether you will continue to trust when the evidence seems delayed. It is about whether you will keep your eyes forward when doubt screams behind you. It is about whether you will step into your inheritance without pausing to question whether you deserve it. To pass this test is to declare, I am done with fear, I am finished with lack, I am walking forward into my destiny, and nothing can close the doors of abundance before me. Once you have passed this test, the floodgates open because you are no longer double-minded. A double-minded soul cannot hold prosperity, for they are torn between faith and fear. But a soul anchored in faith becomes unstoppable. Consider the farmer who plants a seed. He does not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. He does not pace the field wondering if the soil is doing its job. He plants, he waters, he trusts. That trust is faith, and in time, the seed sprouts, grows, and produces a harvest far greater than the single seed ever was. But imagine if the farmer, filled with doubt, kept unearthing the seed, checking if it had sprouted, worrying if it would ever grow. The seed would die, the harvest would vanish, and the farmer would blame the soil, when in truth the blame lay in his own doubt. So it is with prosperity. Plant the seed of your words, water them with faith, and move forward. Do not look back at doubt, for doubt will dig up what was already growing beneath the surface. Keep moving, keep trusting, and the harvest will come. Faith, then, is not passive, it is active, living, dynamic. Faith moves, faith speaks, faith expects, faith acts as though the answer has already arrived. When you walk into a room, faith says, the opportunity is here. When you step into your day, faith says, the provision is coming. When you face an obstacle, faith says, the solution is already on the way. Faith is never idle. It is the engine that keeps the doors of prosperity open. Without faith, the doors rust shut. With faith, they swing wide and stay wide. Every day, every hour, every moment, you are faced with the choice to look back at doubt or to move forward in faith. And the result of your choice is the condition of your life. Today, I declare that you will no longer look back. Today, I declare that you will fix your eyes ahead. Today, I declare that you will trust in the abundance of the universe, in the provision that has already been assigned to you, in the blessings that cannot be denied. The doors are open, and they will stay open as long as you walk forward in faith. No force of fear can shut them. No voice of doubt can seal them. No shadow of lack can cross their threshold. They are open to you, and they will remain open because you have chosen to move forward. So step boldly, speak boldly, believe boldly. You are not a victim of doubt. You are a victor of faith. The test has been passed. The lesson has been learned. The chains have been broken. Looking back will only close what has already been given to you. Moving forward will keep it alive, will keep it flowing, will keep it multiplying. Your prosperity is not ahead of you, it is here. Your abundance is not waiting, it is already unfolding. Your doors are open, and they will remain open, because your faith keeps them so. And that, beloved soul, is the secret of passing the final prosperity test. My friend, you are not here by chance. Nothing about your presence in this moment is random. Life is not a collection of accidents, but a divine orchestration, a carefully guided path where every step, every test, every silence, and every breakthrough serves a greater purpose. You see these words now because you have crossed into a new dimension of your journey. You have walked through the trials, you have endured the silence. You have felt the weight of scarcity pressing against your heart, yet you did not surrender to fear. You chose to believe when evidence seemed against you. You stood on faith when circumstances told you otherwise. And because of this, you have passed the final prosperity test. The final test is not about how much you can accumulate, nor is it about proving your worth through struggle. The final test is subtle, hidden, and spiritual. It asks, will you still trust the unseen supply when the visible world tells you that nothing is working? Will you hold fast to your declarations of abundance when the bills pile high and the door of opportunity seems closed? Will you choose gratitude when lack tries to whisper in your ear? This is the test every soul must pass before wealth can flow without resistance. It is not a test given by a punishing universe, but a test of alignment, a test of readiness. Prosperity is not just about receiving. It is about carrying the responsibility of increase with faith, with grace, and with wisdom. When you pass this test, something shifts forever. You no longer beg life for scraps. You no longer chase after opportunities as if they might run away from you. You no longer plead with desperation in your voice. Instead, you rise into the authority of your divine nature and speak with power. You command doors to open. You expect supply to come. You live in the consciousness of overflow, not in the fear of lack. That is why I tell you today, passing the final prosperity test means living as a magnet of wealth and blessing. A magnet does not chase. A magnet does not beg. A magnet simply is, and because of its nature, everything that belongs to it is drawn toward it with irresistible force. This is the life you step into after the test. You become magnetic to opportunities, to wealth, to ideas, to connections, to divine arrangements that align for your increase. Things that once seemed impossible begin to find their way to you effortlessly. Where you once struggled to make things happen, now doors swing wide open in your favor. The current of abundance flows toward you because your energy, your words, your beliefs, and your actions all declare, I am ready, I am worthy, I am aligned. But let us not overlook what it took to reach this point. You were not handed prosperity on a silver platter. No, you were refined through delay, through opposition, through seasons of waiting that tested the very fiber of your spirit. You were stretched when resources seemed scarce. You were pressed when prayers seemed unanswered. Yet, instead of collapsing into defeat, you chose to believe. You spoke words of abundance even in the face of lack. You declared prosperity even when your pockets felt empty. You affirmed wealth when your circumstances whispered otherwise. This was not easy, but it was necessary. For every declaration was a seed planted, and every seed planted prepared the soil of your life for the harvest you are now ready to receive. The final test often comes at the moment when you feel you cannot endure anymore. It arrives when your patience is thin and your faith feels fragile. It shows up when your mind whispers, maybe I was wrong. Maybe abundance is not for me, maybe I am destined to struggle. But the truth is that the closer you are to breakthrough, the louder the voices of doubt become. This is the battlefield of the final test. Can you stand unwavering in belief when the storm howls the loudest? Can you hold to the vision of prosperity when the evidence mocks you? Can you trust the law of supply even when the visible world says, there is none? If you are seeing these words now, it means you did not yield to fear. You chose to keep walking. You chose to keep declaring. You chose to keep believing. And because of that, the final test is behind you. Now, the life before you is one of magnetism. You will begin to notice the shift. Opportunities will arrive without strain. The right people will appear at the right time. Ideas that bring increase will flash into your mind. Circumstances will align in ways you never could have orchestrated by yourself. This is not luck. It is the law of prosperity responding to your alignment. You are no longer in the vibration of struggle, you are in the vibration of overflow. And just as a magnet does not exhaust itself trying to pull things, you too will no longer exhaust yourself chasing after prosperity. You will live in the consciousness that wealth is drawn to you because it is your divine inheritance. But what does it mean to live as a magnet of wealth and blessing? It means first that your words become instruments of creation. No longer do you speak words of lack or limitation. Every sentence you release carries the frequency of abundance. You declare that doors are open. You affirm that supply is flowing. You speak as if it is already done, because in truth it is. The unseen has already shifted in your favor, and your words are the bridge that carries it into the visible world. It also means your thoughts are aligned with wealth. No longer do you entertain thoughts of not enough. No longer do you indulge the idea that prosperity is for others but not for you. You think on increase. You meditate on plenty. You fix your mind on the truth that the universe is overflowing with resources, and that those resources are freely available to you in perfect timing. You have moved beyond the smallness of scarcity into the expansiveness of divine supply. Living as a magnet also means your actions are infused with faith. You do not act from desperation, but from expectation. When you give knowing it returns multiplied. When you step into new ventures, you do so with boldness, trusting that provision is already arranged. When you move forward, you do not wait for perfect evidence. You act on faith and the evidence follows. Your steps are guided not by fear of failure, but by confidence in success. The blessings that follow are not just financial, though they certainly include financial abundance. They also manifest as peace of mind, opportunities that align with your purpose, relationships that uplift and support you, health that sustains you, and doors that swing wide open at the exact moment you need them. Prosperity is not limited to money. Prosperity is the full expression of a life in harmony with divine law. Passing the final test means you no longer compartmentalize abundance. It touches every area of your existence. Now you must guard this consciousness, for though the test is passed, life will still offer moments to check if you remain aligned. You must continue to walk in the vibration of faith. You must refuse to entertain fear. You must be vigilant with your words and your thoughts, not as a burden, but as a discipline, as a joyful practice, as a way of life. Just as a magnet retains its nature unless tampered with, so too must you retain your magnetic nature by refusing to let negativity erode it. Gratitude will be your shield. Faith will be your fortress. Expectation will be your daily posture. As you live this way, you will discover that wealth and blessing not only flow to you, but through you. You will become a channel for others. Your abundance will not be hoarded but shared, and in sharing it, your increase will multiply. Prosperity is a river, not a reservoir. The more you allow it to flow, the more it will return to you in greater measure. And this is the final evidence that you have passed the test. You no longer fear loss, because you know supply is infinite. You no longer cling tightly to what you have, because you trust that more is always on the way. You no longer wonder if you are worthy, because you know you are already one with abundance. So I declare to you again, passing the final prosperity test means living as a magnet of wealth and blessing. You are no longer a seeker. You are a finder. You are no longer a struggler. You are a commander. You are no longer begging. You are declaring. Wealth is not in your future. It is in your present. Blessing is not far off. It is here now. Opportunities are not hiding. They are racing toward you. You have stepped into the flow and nothing can stop it now. Rise in this truth. Walk boldly in this reality. Speak confidently in this authority. The test is over and the results are undeniable. You are magnetic to wealth. You are magnetic to blessing. You are magnetic to increase. Your days of lack are behind you, and your future is overflowing with abundance. And so it is.